Good afternoon, church. Pastor Craig here once again. Midweek greeting. Happy Thursday. Yes, I said Thursday. Missed getting this out yesterday. Day got away from me. Also, I was partly waiting to get a bit more information about some changes and restrictions so I could know what to communicate to the church family. Before I mention those, I want to just draw attention to something that changed on Sunday. Has nothing to do with COVID. It has to do with what we're preaching on. The preaching series, we started a new one, the book of Ephesians. And as I was presenting the introduction to the book of Ephesians on Sunday, which, by the way, if you didn't get a chance to take in that service, I'd encourage you to go to our YouTube page, Estevan Alliance Church, and you'll be able to see all of our previous services there recorded that you can watch on YouTube. But you could definitely take in the service from last Sunday and the introduction to the new preaching series. But as I was presenting it, I presented two themes that are recurring themes in the book of Ephesians: grace and unity. And we're going to hear these words over and over and over again in these ideas. And I found myself thinking, wouldn't it be cool if these themes were not only recurring in the book of Ephesians, but actually became stuck in our heads? In fact, more than just stuck in our heads, what if they became stuck in our hearts? And they actually were the filters through which we would allow God to direct us as to how to act and what to do, what our attitudes and actions should be. Kind of like a song that gets stuck in your head. You ever had that? An annoying song that just won't leave your head? The other day for me, it was Take Me Out to the Ball Game. I don't know why that song was stuck in my head. I don't think I'd heard it on the radio or anything. Just all of a sudden, I found myself singing that song and I could not get it out of my head. What if grace and unity were the things that were stuck in our head? You know, one of the things that we could do to help us with that would be to focus on one or two verses that talk about those ideas. The Bible teaches us, your word have I hid in my heart that I might not sin against thee. Hidden our heart means more than just memorizing it, but actually allowing it to become part of who we are. What if we took a verse like Ephesians chapter 2, verses 4 and 5, but because of his great love for us, God, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ even when we were dead in transgressions. It is by grace you have been saved. What if we took a verse like that and memorized it, meditated on it, allowed God's Spirit to make it part of who we are, become part of our hearts, and allowed that to become what's stuck in our heads and the filter through which we make decisions? I wonder how that would impact us. I think it would impact us in a pretty good way, and we'd be growing in our relationship with Christ in the ways that he would want us to. Just something to think about. But because of his great love for us, God, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ, even when we were dead in his transgressions. It is by grace you have been saved. You know, one of the other things that has changed this last week, not only the preaching series changed, but as I'm sure you heard, there are some restriction changes for our whole province, and also specifically in the area of Estevan. There are some recommendations that have been made in terms of COVID response. And I want to just let you know that there are some changes for our church family. Beginning this Sunday, our number of people that we can have in worship services is reduced once again. And so the number has been reduced on the pre-registration page. And so you'll want to jump on that quickly if you want to be part of the church service. Otherwise, we will continue to have the live stream offered. And so we fully expect that more people will take part in the worship service in that way. And I look forward to when we're able to have more in the service once again. But for now, these are the numbers that we are restricted to. Also want to just mention that you may have seen an advisory that was put out by the government. It was posted to Facebook. I actually did get confirmation that yes, in fact, it is legit. It's not the form of communication I'm used to seeing from the government, but there is an advisory that has been put out for the city of Estevan because of increased number of COVID variant of concern cases. And so would encourage you to take a look at that and to heed those. I'd appreciate your prayers for the Elders Board. We will actually be meeting this evening. And one of the things we will be looking at is these advisories and the new restrictions and making decisions once again. How do we respond as a church? I do want to highlight one thing, though, for all of us. There are some restrictions that have not changed, but we often get asked questions, have these things changed or not? And so I want to just highlight that if you are coming to the church for any reason, whether it be for a worship service or whether it be to take part in a Bible study or perhaps a meeting that you're part of or a worship team practice, or even if you're just stopping in to talk to Bev or to myself, there are a few things that we do need to have in place at all times. Masks continue to need to be worn at all times. We are considered a public building, and so from the time you enter until the time you exit, you need to be wearing a mask. Physical distancing is something else that we need to be sure to practice. And just to note that physical distancing now is between household groups, which has been changed. The definition of that has been changed once again. So now we're back to the people that live under your roof. And so that includes both as you enter and exit the church, but also as you're seated at an event, whether that be a Bible study or in the church service. Please be sure that you have that physical distancing between your household groups. And if you need to move chairs back and make the circle bigger in order to accommodate that, do what you need to do. But please, let's beware of that. Something else that continues to be the same is food and drink is not allowed to be present. Unfortunately, this does include water bottles and coffee cups. We cannot have food or drink brought into the church building when we're having public events. And so please appreciate your cooperation in making that a reality. And finally, we do need to keep track of attendance of who has been in the building, and we're required to keep that for 30 days. And as we think about these restrictions, it's easy to become frustrated with them. I'm tired of them. I'm done with them. And there's some I don't even agree with. But they are the restrictions that have been put in place. And as we think about grace, we can think about these restrictions as being things that are imposed on us and we have to do. Or we could allow grace to be the filter through which we look at them and see them as an opportunity to extend grace to those whom we are with and those who are around us and to our community as a whole, as they're steps that we can take to truly care and love for one another. And so I would encourage us all, wherever we are or whatever we're doing, take the restrictions seriously that are in place. We are seeing increase in the number of cases in this area, and I'm sure that just about everybody knows somebody in the area that now either has had COVID or has been in contact with somebody that has had COVID. We do have the variant restriction, variants in place as well in this area that some people have had contact with. And so I would encourage us all, let's take these steps to care for one another, both within our church family, but also in the broader community. And so I wanted to just highlight things to make sure that everyone's on the same page as to what the expectations are. As I mentioned, our board is meeting tonight, and we will be making some decisions if there are any other changes that need to be made in programming in order to care for our church family and for the community. And so if there are further changes, there will be further announcements coming. But for now, let's keep these things in mind. And may grace be what is the filter through which we look at all things in life. And I leave us with the verse that I ended the service with on Sunday. Grace and peace to you from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Let's be the church God has called us to be, intentionally becoming people who embrace and reveal God's love. Have a great week. Look forward to worshiping with you on Sunday.